That was not on my mind so much, but enough about that for a moment. Let me quickly say hello to everyone out there. Thanks for tuning in. It's Killer B. We've got a live 3v3 here. We're watching on Twitch. Maybe you're watching on YouTube or on a VOD, but thanks for joining us. Just a couple of us here hanging out and chatting. We're going to watch Migeul, Lix, and Saymyname versus Slaktarn, Villese, and the Max. Slaktarn, Villese, and the Max are a really good team together. The Finns, obviously, qualifying for the Nations Cup final. Slaktarn is a really solid team player as well. Migeul is probably the highest ranked player in the game. Well, Migeul and Lix. But Saymyname, not necessarily super known for team games. Strong player, but I would not put Saymyname exactly on the same level as everybody else in here. But anyway, I've gone off on a tangent. Let's focus on this game. It's Mayans, Vikings, and Huns for both sides of the map. We are playing the 1.5 beta user patch. We will look at the blue player here first, Slaktarn. He's going to have the flank, actually. His teammate, the Max, will be in the pocket. The Max is a nasty pocket. If the Max gets a chance to make knights and goes into paladins, you're screwed. I mean, it doesn't matter where you are in the game. The Max just seems to spam paladins better than anyone in the game. He's the best pocket, in my opinion, in a team game of anybody. Villese will be on the other flank as Vikings, and this is a pretty damn nice setup. You've got an Archer Civ, ostensibly an Archer Civ here for the Mayans player. You've got pretty much an Archer Civ for the Vikings, or a Civ that can go into Archers. And you have Huns. I mean, Huns, you don't necessarily want to spam Knights, but it is a Civ that can spam Knights and go into Paladins. So I think that's a really nice arrangement. On the other side, we're going to have a Hun flank for Saymyname. Lix is going to be a Vikings flank, and they're going to have Pocket Mayans, and Pocket Mayans is really tricky. It just comes down to speed in a 3v3. You need to be able to, basically, from the pocket, you need to bolster your flanks. And it's going to be hard to, for instance, respond to raiding in the green base for the Mayans player. It's just so damn slow. But maybe some plumes into some eagles or something like that will be good enough, but we will check it out. Did you meet some German girls? He saw Nilly. That's rude but hilarious. Nilly was one of the highlights of the trip. He was like the coolest guy you'll meet. Really great guy. Anyway, players starting to get things going. 14 villager count for everyone. Again, blue player is on the flank. Forward stone piles, forward gold. Not exactly the greatest, but there's some gold behind him if things get desperate and dire, and I would assume Slaktarn has found that, so that's a good thing for him. The next player we should look at will be the other flank here, which is Villese. Villese has 4 out on wood early. Lots of resource piles that are kind of on the edge of probably what his sphere of influence will be, but I think this is going to be a good one for him. Should be able to wall this and wall that and be totally fine to take gold. His wood lines are a bit puny, but, you know, life could always be easier and better. The Max is going to have 1 back wood line there that's not too bad. 1 on the front gold. He will be the pocket player, so we might not see him pressured terribly early, but, you know, this is good enough. He's going to be in Castle Age dropping TCs, and I think he will be relatively safe. The other side of the map, we will see Lix playing as Vikings. So this is effective. This is basically team number 2. Lix is walling in the front here. Vikings player can block himself in pretty easy. Pretty safe berries, pretty safe back gold. The stone pile out here to the north is a little rugged, but I think he'll get there. I think it's all good. Saymyname in the green trunks, front gold. Not a ton of structure to keep that safe. Kind of front stones. Yeah, not the greatest of bases. Does he have like a back gold pile? Yeah, he does. Yeah, Saymayname's base here isn't so great, but he is Huns. Huns is a pretty damn good civ if you have to play open. And ooh, almost getting a villager sniped there by Slaktarn. Last player on the map will be Migeul, that pocket Mayans player. He's the wild card. Forward gold for Migeul. Stones to the north of his base. Has a wood line off to the side and can establish another one on the back, I suppose. Gold pile there, not terribly safe, but yeah, he's going to be fine. I think pocket positions, as long as you have good spots to put TCs, like for instance here, I think you're fine. Another TC here, I think he's totally fine here in the pocket. Early game raiding is a little less common, always could happen, but at least in my experience, it's usually not a game breaker if your pocket has a bit of an open map. I will say hello again to Salva and Lou, Dr. Slow, and Mr. Daunt, the Daunt Rush. Welcome, guys. Good to have you here live. Feel free to jump in and tell me your thoughts on this match. As always, I don't want to get into a bubble here, man. I don't want to get into a bubble where I'm not listening or learning anything about the game. I'm just watching it. It looks like we will see a barracks coming up from the Max and an early feudal time. The Max is up on 20 vills in the pocket on that side. Huns player is going to be up on 20 and going scouts, I guess. No gold economy, so we will see a stable to go with this from the Max in just a moment. Okay, that's one way to play it. Why not? He's going to be the aggressor here. Migeul looks to be fast castling, sending a couple vills over to gold. Has not clicked up yet. Is going to take a bit of stone, so maybe we'll see kind of a fast plumed archer build from the other pocket. But yeah, that uptime from the Max surprises me a lot. I started off by saying that I think he's one of the best booming players in the game. If he gets a chance to boom and start to spam knights, he's just so nasty. But we will not see that this game, at least not early on. A couple vills headed over to gold for Villese. Villese is going to wall in. The Vikings player here does have a drush out. Could try to drush FC. We will keep an eye on that for now. Villese coming across the map. Maybe going man-at-arms? Is that the plan? 3 vills out to gold. Can finish the walls here in a moment. Is in the feudal age. Will go men-at-arms and will go with an archery range. So Villese, men-at-arms, archery range, maybe a somewhat quick castle build. Could be here in time to get into Lix's base. Lix at the moment is just a bit too open. Yeah, and these men-at-arms are getting in. Scout here is going to... he's going to take a lot more damage on that scout than he probably wants. But he's going to have a great moment when the man-at-arms reveal comes in, and there it is. That's when you crap your pants if you're Lix. God damn it. That man-at-arms upgrade coming in at a really nice time, but he did not pick a vill. Oh, God, but that berry bush gets chewed through by Lix, and now Lix is going to lose a vill. Lix is going to lose a vill, and he's going to lose his berries because he finished that bush on the edge. Bummer, bro. Lix is going to lose his scout, or rather Villese, kind of careless, but did get a villager already. If he can get one more, I think it's really going to pay off those men-at-arms. Scouts for the green player Saymyname hanging in defense in the Hun base. And we will also see scouts from the blue player, teal player, the Max, going forward. Blue player as Mayans is going double ranges and a blacksmith. Kilby, I want you to know that I saw your first 1v1 on Tuesday. That man-at-arms rest kicked you in the nuts. Exactly, it did. It really ruined me. It was a fun game in the end. I always love playing AOC, but God, to use a term that I like to use too much, I pissed all over my shoes that game. Things started to go bad, and I let them go incredibly bad so quickly. Terribly played match. But anyway, we will see the pocket player, the Max, join up with his teammate, Slaktarn, and they're going to 2v1 this flank. They're going to push on the Huns player who is building a quick tower. That tower is decent. It will protect his wood and maybe his berries from raiding. But his gold in the north is going to be really tricky to keep safe. Does have some skirmishers out, does have some scouts out. But we'll see. We'll see how green deals with this. Saymyname, as I was saying, is not exactly the best player. He's probably the least amazing player in this game. Is an absolute freak of nature. Really great AOC player. But will have a little bit of trouble keeping up with his opponents here. He's not 2v1 though. Slaktarn is going to head toward the pocket and is actually headed straight toward the TC. Got to be a little more careful. But can get over to this stone pile. We have a fast castle into plumed archers here, I would guess, from Migeul, if he can do it. But of course, Slaktarn is not going to let him do that for free. One villager going down, and Migeul is on the way to castle. Miguel's on the way to castle. He's got 600 stone. He'll probably use the market to buy the last 100 that he needs and then drop a defensive castle somewhere inside of his eco. These villagers are all hanging out in the same area. I wonder if he's going to try to drop a castle over here. Shambles, it was bad, man. It was bad. I had a fun game, but that first game on Tuesday, well, that's as bad as it gets. We will have a 2v1 here in the pocket. The Max is going to come over and see if he can double down on Migeul, who's already lost 2 vills, will lose a few more. Miguel's saying GG. The problem for Migeul is that while he's going to drop a TC, he can't really get his castle up. Villagers under pressure, 2v1, and, you know, this early scout rush from the Max that I kind of question seems to be working beautifully. Seems to be working beautifully. Mayans are a great late game civ, so maybe the Max thinking that he can get in here and do some damage early, and he certainly did. It's going to be 3 TCs for Migeul. He's going to try to boom his way back into it, but of course his morale is not very high right now. And the Max will click to Castle Age as we speak, and he's going to have more villagers than Migeul, and he's going to have a little bit more initiative, a lot more initiative. Migeul's economy is really not in great shape. Castle, for now, is not going to be an option. We're just going to see Migeul try to reboom into this game. Yellow player, though, is in on the Max. Lix here has been a little quiet early game, but he did build some archers. Got beat up a little by men-at-arms, but he seems to be fine here now. The Max actually fighting this wolf is kind of a big deal. He would have loved to finish this stable, but now he's going to have to just go in full retreat. When he hits the Castle Age, double stable knights are probably the best thing to try to save him. But for now, he's on the run, and he's got a villager with a wolf on her trail. He's going to run right into Slaktarn's base. Problem is, Slaktarn doesn't seem to have anything here to stop this group. Okay, here we go. Slaktarn is on the way back to deal with Lix's archers, and it should be okay. Actually, a really good decision there from the Max. Just running this entire eco to his teammate's base doesn't look like the greatest decision, but if he can afford a TC, which he can win back that area. He can win back that area. Anyway, we do have archers and skirmishers coming from Villese. The Vikings player has been a little bit quiet after those men-at-arms, but has built up a bit of an army, 19 military for the orange player, and he's actually forward with the Max, now 2v1ing Lix. So the Max's scouts have got some miles on them, man. Those horses have run a long distance. Still 4 of them alive. That's pretty damn good. I think he built 6 or so in total, and they have done some serious damage. Going to chop down a couple more skirmishers here, maybe allowing the orange player to take away the gold here of Lix for just a bit longer. Pretty good game so far. I would say the Finns, or rather the Scandinavian team, is kicking some butt. But they are not without challenge. There is a small army here from Lix that did do some good damage to the Max. The Max will lose a few more vills before these archers go down. Is she going to survive? She is. TC up on the front. That seems like the most logical location to me. Should go up quite soon. Blue player house walling across the front. Blue army, there's a couple units here, a couple units there. Mostly not quite not so influential at the moment. On the way to Castle Age, wants to upgrade to crossbowmen and might go to plumes. It's hard to say. I have to look at his eco. But Lix is bummed. He is he's getting beaten up on. Migeul is saying blame yellow. He's saying blame Saymyname. That's his other name. Saymyname at the moment is still fighting 1v1 with Slaktarn on the front. I don't think Slack is taking stone here. No stone has been taken by the blue player. So he's going to go into crossbow and continue to work his way, well, into the Castle Age, get some upgrades, get some TCs. Should be able to stand toe-to-toe with this army. Don't know what the upgrades are. +1 for the green player, +1/+1 for Slaktarn. Few more skirms here for green, and oh, there you go, crossbowman upgrade coming in. But it does look like Saymyname is going to have to get out of here at some point. Just too many numbers for Slaktarn. Slack will be bolstered by the Max's knights, +1/+1 on those knights. The first knight will head forward toward this group, and they should be able to wipe Saymyname off the face of the earth here with 1 knight in the mix. Should be quite easy. Crossbowman and bodkin arrow on the way for Slaktarn. But he's ready to start the game already, so he's going in. Little Xing in the back, that is the Max's knights. Those are going to head straight toward Lix. Lix has been hit pretty hard. They've kind of left Migeul alone after killing probably 5 vills from Migeul. I think that the Scandinavian team here has kind of left him alone for a bit. Saymyname is saying GG because his army got crushed on the front by this group of crossbows from Slaktarn. And we saw a pretty masterful game here. I think it is GG, and I think that the Scandinavian team played a hell of a game. Those scouts from the Max were a real wild card early on. Huns not a civ that you can sleep on. I supposed that he would go fast castle, but when he didn't, it surprised me. I don't know if it surprised Migeul, Saymyname, and Lix, but he definitely got some serious damage in. The Max basically hurt all 3 players along with his teammates. His early scouts were a huge difference maker. And this game feels like GG. Migeul's going to keep fighting this out for a moment. He does have 8 military units on the map, does have 3 TCs, has some plumes, is dropping a couple barracks, dropping a 4th town center. Wants to continue to fight this out, but Lix is now basically in full sling mode, seems to be slinging resources to Migeul. Lix is stonewalling and starting to sling, which is a perfectly fine tactic for a Vikings player, but the Nations Cup mod, I believe, nerfs slinging by a bit. It does not allow you to get banking, I think. I think coinage comes later and banking does not come at all. Could be wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure that's the case with this mod. We're seeing barracks coming down now from Migeul, so he's going to take some sling, he's going to build some eagles, and he's going to give it one last run. Looks like Slaktarn did take a partial shot from a mangonel to the face, so that group is pretty weakened. He's going to go back home and add in a monastery. Blue player Slack is still not anywhere close to clicking up, so it's going to be one player in Imperial Age. That's going to be the red player Migeul. The max is booming up, has not built that many knights. Is on 70 villagers at the moment. Migeul's boom is the biggest so far. I'm very surprised not to see more knights from the max. Only 7 military for the moment. But bloodlines with +1/+1 for him. He's going to be coming forward to bolster his teammate Villese, and they have to have seen the fact that Lix is basically full stonewalling. They have to have seen this. When you stonewall your buildings like this, it's probably a pretty strong sign that you are going into full sling mode. Lix here will sling all of his resources to his teammate, and that will give Migeul the chance to build up more eagles. Of course, in the long run, this isn't a really viable strat, but for the next like 10 minutes of game time, it will at least give this team a slight chance of winning. I wouldn't say it's going to be, I doubt that it will be able to win the game for them, but you never know. You never know. Cav Archer rating coming from Saymyname. Hopefully for Slaktarn's sake, this woodline isn't open. He has opened it, but it looks like the green player won't go in. Crossbowmen in chase, so it looks okay for Slaktarn, at least for now. Slack and the Max have a team wall almost connected to one another. Very unfortunate that the Max is walling this huge area when he could have walled to his teammate. That would have helped a lot. I would have liked to see Villese react and sling the Max too. Hey, LB10. That is, that's interesting. Actually, I didn't think about that. I'm actually surprised you say that. But you are the more senior player than me, so maybe that is a really good strat here. The reason I would not have thought of that is that, you know, Villese is doing great. Like, let's go and 2v1 somebody since Lix has taken himself out of the game. But that's interesting. Yeah. If your opponent starts to sling, you can sling too. Why not? Imperial Age coming for the Max and Villese. Slaktarn grabbing handcart. Will be clicking up somewhat soon, I think. Resources are starting to creep up. Saymyname here is probably still a little bit behind. Saymyname. Ooh, but look at the friggin' eagles. Look at the mini-map. There's just red everywhere. And we're going to see if this sling can bring this team back into the match. And I guess we'll see if LB10 is on the money with basically fighting fire with fire. It will be. Elite Eagle Warrior in, doesn't have all the upgrades yet, but the Mayans player has some beefy 100 HP Eagles right now. We're coming forward to start to harass the Max. The Max is very wisely mostly stonewalled in. Both the Max and Slaktarn are mostly stonewalled, so they should be able to hold on for a little bit. Of course, Eagles will knock these buildings down in not too terribly long of a time. Knights continuing to roll out for the teal player. Going Cavalier, going to continue to upgrade here. We'll be facing quite a few Eagles. A couple Eagles headed toward the blue player as well, but those aren't getting in yet. But here comes a Castle Age push from Saymyname. VNS Yellow is not going down without a fight. Saymyname here is going to do some damage. Knocking on the front door of Slaktarn's base. Slack is going Imp, so he doesn't want to fight just yet. Can imagine he wants to upgrade a bit more. Migeul is so good, says Shambles. I think this strategy is really strong, and there's a chance here in the next couple minutes that these guys can upset the apple cart and grab a win. Hey, Kugel. Good to see you, buddy. The scores have flipped, so there's at least that. Of course, you know, Migeul is trying to hurt everyone at the same time. He's sending mostly units toward the orange player and some units toward the Max, but that's kind of stretched him pretty thin. There's probably 15 eagles, maybe 20 eagles total that are trying to bother the Max right now. The Max has a couple of monks, he has a bunch of cavalier, and these eagles aren't really getting in so quickly. Like, they're going to kill this stable, but they're not going to get into that eco. So the Max here is really totally fine. The orange player on the other side is walling himself up, and he's going to go into champions. So those champs, for the moment, two-handed swordsmen. Those two-handed swords should be in pretty good shape to fight off these eagles. So this initial push might not hurt him so bad. But the place where some damage has been done is Slaktarn's base. Slak has lost a TC and is starting to get beaten up on a bit. Saymyname will just now click up. His rams start to roll in. Slaktarn hits the Imperial Age, and he's going to start adding in some barracks. He's a little bit slow. If he was going to go deep into Eagles, he'd need more barracks by now. But at least he's going to be able to... God, he's going to grab squires, chainmail armor. Should be able to upgrade these crossbows a bit more. They're only +2/+1 right now. They still can be effective. There's not that many eagles here, and there's only a couple of battering rams. Not even upgraded rams. Paladin on the way over though from the Max to help his teammate make this push. It looks like it will be a full-on transition into eagles for the blue player. I'm surprised that he's not going any deeper into archers, but he's going to drop more barracks. And basically let his teammate help him push this back. So we will see if the strat can work. Continued stonewalling here from the orange player. Orange player Villese just needs to hold the line for a bit longer. Does have champions on the way, or rather, I should say two-handed swordsmen on the way. Continuing to upgrade those. Those units should be okay to hold the line against eagles. The Max here, or rather Migeul here, is going to be stretched pretty thin. He's basically trying to fight on both flanks at the same time, and the onus is on him to get something done sooner rather than later, because Lix is still in the feudal age. It's a really tough thing about slinging. It's great for a short time, but it can't... Yeah, there you go, Castle Age coming for Lix. It can't last forever. Right now, though, lots of eagles. This still could work. So crazy that it just might work. We shall find out in a moment. Those eagles are going to circumvent most of the orange economy. Again, just a couple two-handed swords. Champions on the way. Iron casting on the way. Look at Villese. Villese will garrison those units until champion comes in, basically daring his opponent to kill this TC quickly enough, and I think he will. Migeul will kill that town center pretty damn quick. Champion upgrade is still only halfway done. But... yeah, it looks like that group of two-handed swords might go down pretty quick. Still trying to run and hide for the moment. We do have Paladin, though, in for the Max. The Max with Paladins is always a scary thing to behold. Lix is still throwing some resources around to everybody. Stonewall's coming down now from Saymyname to block off the late-game trade routes. These eagles are really, there's a lot of eagles here, man. They're spreading like herpes at the moment. Total military count is 107 for Migeul. That's what happens when you get slung, I suppose. Saymyname, or rather the Max here, clearly must be a little bit lacking for gold, because he has to come out to the front to take this extra gold pile. His Paladins will stand and fight there. Of course, Paladin's a pretty beefy unit. These eagles are not quite numerous enough, I don't think, to win this fight. So Migeul will lose some units here. Might be a somewhat... yeah, it doesn't look like it was that good of a value fight for Migeul. Lost a lot of Eagle Warriors. Migeul, in the long run, will need to get some markets up with his teammate and get some gold. Migeul has pushed in a bit into Villese's eco. Villese is on 95 Vils and should be okay in the long run to hold this off with champions. But at least for the moment is kind of struggling. Of course, Slaktarn has taken some serious damage. 2 town centers are down already. So he's not going to be spamming eagles anytime terribly soon unless he receives a bit of sling. Does have a couple of units, though. Has elite eagle in, but does not have all of the HP that he'd want. Should have about 40 more HP. Needs to get that El Dorado, if you will. Let's see. Crossbowmen still with +2/+1. But those units will roam together and try to raid the green eco for the moment. Green player has gone to Cavalier, has not gone to Heavy Cav Archer. So Saymyname will transition into the Knight line. I think that's a good call for the late game. Once the trade is up, I think that's probably a pretty good choice, but we'll find out. And yeah, we got a game on our hands, boys. Actually, the Scandinavian team has not really been able to take the lead for about 10 minutes of game time. Slaktarn has taken some serious lumps. He will get another town center denied in the north of his base. And Cav Archer rating just continues to pester him. He's got a couple of eagles out. But Slack, what are you up to, buddy? Don't know if Slack has a couple plumes. No, he's got villagers garrisoned in here, which has got to be a mistake. I don't see any reason for him to have this many villagers garrisoned right now. That's a big deal. That's 8 villagers that will be idle probably for quite some time until he realizes it. Cavalier will clean up the blue army on the side. Eagle Warriors continuing to roam in, and LB10 is looking smarter and smarter every minute that this game goes on. The sling from the Vikings player Lix was kind of a last-ditch effort. But at least so far, it has really worked. Slaktarn has taken an absolute pounding. Lix is still slinging some resource, but he is in Castle Age now. Looks to be still on 1 TC, but a second town center on the way, taking some stone on the front. So we'll keep an eye on Lix. I think he can get himself back into this game in a military sense sometime soon. Stable's coming down for the max like crazy. Paladin are coming out for him, but he's got to be feeling a little bit of pressure to keep his gold eco going. Oh, this is a bad fight. Bad fight for Migeul, I would say. Migeul standing and fighting with champions, and that is just not a cost-effective fight for Migeul. He's going to go back for the moment. His teammate, though, in green is really, Saymyname here, is really ready to steamroll Slaktarn. Starting to add in some trebs. Those villagers who were in the castle garrison are finally going to get back to work. A couple eagles will come out and try to knock these trebs down. Green player is actually not quite here yet. He'll be here in a moment, though, with his army, and he should be fine. Saymyname is ready to make a push. He's going to give a treb here up for really cheap. 2 eagle warriors able to run in and snipe down that treb. Second treb should stand. Paladin just now coming in for Saymyname. I think the late game Paladin transition for Saymyname is the right call, and they're going to come in just in time to push the Max away. The Max feeling pretty tough with his group of Paladins, but once the upgrade came in for the green player here, it's kind of like, well, I guess we have to let that castle live. Still a bunch of Eagle Warriors out here in the middle. Orange player, it's kind of hard to see. Does have champions, though, in the mix, and champions are really going to be great and cost-effective here. Lost 40 eagles, says Shambles. Indeed, at the moment, Migeul is down to 54 military, so he's used his eagles, and he's made that push, but now his team needs to transition into maybe just a bit more sustainable of a late-game army. They're doing that very nicely. Green player here, Saymyname, has really made a nice transition, and he's going to continue to steamroll blue by himself. Slaktarn here is in a lot of trouble. The Max is going to have to come over to try to bolster this flank. But I don't know if it can be done, man. I don't know if he's got enough to do it. The Max is stretched a little thin. We do see quite a few knights here from Saymyname. At the moment, though, he is out upgraded by quite a lot. Missing quite a few of, well, missing damage upgrades, I suppose. Let's see. For the moment, Slaktarn breathes a few more breaths of life. 75 villagers, still in decent shape. He's actually got a similar villager count to Lix, who has been slinging for quite some time. Siege Ram now coming for the orange player, and he's ready to make a push on his side. He sees the fortified walls, he sees that his opponent is turtling up, and he's ready to make a push. He should be able to get this gold for free. Lix abandoned it, and Villese never made him pay for it. But Villese is going to get in on that side. He's going to start making a push. We can see a couple trade cards, question mark. Yeah, trade cards starting to come. It looks like markets will actually go from this corner for the Scandinavian team to the far corner here. Pretty good wall off, I would say. Man, oh man, Lix walling off essentially the entire center of the map. So some credit to Lix where it's due, but champions and paladins now are starting to spam toward the green base. Green player he's still behind a team wall. He's still going to be fine for a minute. But where's his army? What happened? Saymyname should have a decent army. It's blocked by the scoreboard. I think he has 20 units right now. All paladin. Should be fine for now. But a little siege on this other side is actually really intriguing to me. Champions in siege for Villese. Villese at the moment. Whoa, holy sweet Jesus. Floating a lot of food and gold. And is actually going to get in through a newly minted team wall. There's just a couple cracks here. in Lix's wall. Siege Ram starting to push in. Should knock down these walls relatively quickly. Yeah, there's one mangonel in defense here from Lix, but I don't think one mangonel is quite enough to deal with this army. So Villese will probably get in. That will cause Lix to need some help, and that help is going to come in the form of plumes and halbs. Yeah, plumes and halbs. We'll see. Not that many plumed archers here. A couple of them, though. They should do, if they were in a bigger group, they'd do great against these champions. Secondary walling coming from the yellow player. I think there's one panel in between these two, because I think Rams will push 2 panels at the same time. So he's leaving a 1-panel gap. Could be wrong about that, but here come those plumes. We will see how this goes for the champions of Villese. Villese should be able to chase this back, is still pushing in with Rams. And he's ready to make a difference. Villese has been a little bit defensive, having to defend against all those eagles for quite some time. We'll push in here, and we'll get the siege rams an inch or 2 closer every moment. Lix is just spamming walls. Lix is playing a beautiful game of Chinese wall torture at the moment. A little bit of night raiding here from the green player. We'll see if that gets anything major done. The trade is established on that side. And at least for now, yeah, Villese is really where the action is at. Villese still sending forward siege rams. Lix is still spamming walls. We've got Migeul here with a couple defensive units as well. So maybe it's just not going to happen. That champion number really got dwindled down by all of these elite plumes, or rather, yeah, elite plumes from Migeul. So we'll see, guys. This game is still roaming forward. It's still slowly but surely grinding on. I feel like Migeul's team is in a great position, but the scores would suggest that it's almost a dead even score-wise. Scores actually just flipped. Trade is really important at this point. We got a little bit of a blocked overlay here that I'll have to work on, but it looks like we have trade established for the Max and Villese. And I would assume some trade cards for the other team. Yeah, it looks like we've got a good number of trade cards coming up for both sides. Gonna have to get their trading economies going so that they can basically continue the momentum that they have at the moment. Halb is in for the Mayans player Slaktarn. So Slack is going to, well, he's actually going to get some pretty cost-effective trades there. Of course, we'll lose to those Paladin in the end, but killed a few, dwindled a bunch. We've got onagers out for the Vikings player. We've got onagers to deal with the archers, and we've got some champions. He never did make it through Lix's wall, and Slaktarn, the Max, and Villese will give the GG, and LB10 will be called a genius from this point forward, because he suggested that once they knew Lix was stonewalling and slinging, that their Vikings player should have done the same thing. And actually, in retrospect, I think it probably would have worked. I'm very surprised, actually, that Migeul, Saymyname, and Lix were able to come back in this one. But a very nice team game to start the day off here in the Twitch channel. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We will jump into the next game, if there is one, in a couple of minutes between that.